The story begins in a working-class neighborhood of Boston in the 1970s. Three childhood friends, Jimmy, Markum, Sean, Devine and Dave Boyle, are playing in the street, writing their names in the cool cement of the street. Dave is kidnapped by two men posing as police officers, telling him they would take him to his house to talk to his mother for vandalizing the street. Dave, believing that they really are police officers, gets into the car with them without thinking about the tragic moment that awaits him with these men. Dave manages to escape after several days sequestered in a room, but the trauma of sexual abuse marks him for life. Years later, 25 years to be exact, Jimmy is an ex-convict who now owns a grocery store, trying to live an honest life for the sake of his family. Sean has become a homicide detective and is separated from his wife, who contacts him sporadically by phone, and Dave, for his part, is married to Celeste and they have a son, but he continues to struggle with demons from his past due to the trauma he experienced. He suffered as a child. The story takes a tragic turn when Jimmy's 19-year-old daughter, Katie, is brutally murdered. Katie had planned to elope with her boyfriend Brendan Harris to Las Vegas to marry him, suggesting to Jimmy that the murder may have been premeditated. On the night of the murder, Dave returns home around 3 a.m, with a stab wound in the stomach, bloody knuckles, and blood all over his clothes, and tells Celeste a confusing story about having fought and killed a man who tried to assault him. Celeste begins to suspect Dave, especially when she cannot find any news in the newspaper about this event and cannot provide clear details about what happened. Sean and his partner Whitey Powers are assigned to investigate the case. As the investigation progresses, complex layers of secrets and lies in the community are revealed. Jimmy, consumed by grief and anger, begins to suspect Dave when the police take Dave into custody for the vague statements he gave them about seeing Katie at the bar the night of her murder and in her room. 2 types of blood were found. Celeste expresses her doubts to Jimmy and he, with the help of his neighborhood friends who are still involved in criminal activities, decides to investigate on his own. Meanwhile, Sean and Whitey discover that Katie was murdered with a gun that belonged to Brendan's father, Katie's boyfriend. They discovered this thanks to a bullet casing that was found in the crime and which coincided with a robbery at a liquor store 20 years ago in which Brendan's father was the main suspect. Brendan and his younger brother, Ray, become the main suspects. Brendan Harris discovers that his brother Ray was responsible for Katie's murder in a tragic and emotionally intense way when he is arrested and questioned about where his father's gun is located. He denies the entire time that his father had a gun, but when he is told that a bullet casing was found in Katie's murder that matches the casing of a gun his father used in a robbery, he quickly puts things together, but continues to deny to the police that his father left a gun in their house when he abandoned them and be able to leave the police station. Brendan enters his house anxious and suspecting that something is wrong. He goes to the place where he knows his father kept the gun, which he cannot find. He only finds its holster. At that moment, Brendan begins to realize the seriousness of the situation. Brendan, not finding the gun, knows that someone in his family could be involved in Katie's murder. He is visibly affected, breathing heavily and showing a mixture of disbelief and despair. His suspicions focus on his younger brother, Ray, who has been acting strangely. Brendan confronting his brother Ray, who initially denies it. Tension builds until Ray admits, under pressure from Brendan, that he and his friend John O'Shea, who gets beaten up by Brendan, used the gun and were involved in Katie's murder. Meanwhile, Jimmy and his henchmen confront Dave at a local bar. Under duress, Dave admits to having killed a man, but insists that it was not Katie but a pedophile who he found with a minor in a car, thus reliving his old traumas, but his explanations are very vague since he could not explain well. Happened to man. Jimmy, blinded by anger and thirst for revenge, does not believe him and tells Dave that if he admits that he will spare his daughter's murder. Dave, believing him, admits it due to the pressure exerted, and Jimmy murders him due to the pain of the loss of his daughter. Shortly after, Sean discovers that the real murderers of Katie were Brendan's brother Ray and his friend John O'Shea, thanks to the call they made to the emergency, since at the end of the recording they realized that the teenagers were the murderers. The teenagers tried to rob Katie, but the robbery went wrong and they killed her in a desperate panic. The film closes with the three men facing the consequences of their actions and decisions. Jimmy realizes he has killed an innocent man, Sean solves the case but loses even more of his humanity, and Dave is remembered as a victim of the circus. Mystic River is a profound exploration of human nature and the moral complexities that arise in extreme situations, with powerful performances and a narrative that keeps the viewer in tension until the end of the film. We hope you liked the summary of this spectacular film. Comment what you think, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in the next summary.